Hello, everyone. Welcome to Wild on Design, a webcast series presented by the Pacific Design Center and Women in Luxury Design. I'm your host, producer, Jennifer Convey, and today we have another exciting episode. Dakota Jackson. Dakota Jackson directs his house of design and in-house furniture and piano co-manufacturing facility built on the credo of beauty, technology, and unparalleled craftsmanship of the highest caliber, with furnishings custom made by artisans worldwide. Dakota Jackson caters to international clients in the residential and commercial sectors and the cruise industry, along with the product design and more exotic commissions, including award-winning houses of worship. Dakota Jackson's 20-year association with Steinway and Sons placed Jackson at the forefront of the rarefied industry of instrument design and engineering, culminating in the 2019 international premiere of the Lang Lang Black Diamond concert piano. He also did many editions of others, and most notably this year, he's launching the Dakota Jackson pianos. It's an international organization, and we're going to hear all about it. So, Dakota Jackson is also celebrating 50 years of creative success. That is also happening this year. And so without further delay, Dakota Jackson, welcome.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Well, as they say, I can't complain. So what better than that, actually, better than ever. I'm better than ever.
I believe it. You look great. You are talking to us today via New York. You're in New York, right? In your home?
I'm in New York. I'm in my home, yes.
Gorgeous. And I see you're sitting in a music room with probably one of your pianos. Tell us about that.
Pianos are behind me. That's right. It's from 2000 actually. Yeah.
Gorgeous, gorgeous. Well, this is really exciting. So you've had such an inspired life and such a creative story, and we want to hear all of them, but we only have a limited amount of time, so we're going to try and get as much in as possible. So this year marks 50 years of your success, and I know there's going to be a huge celebration going on in your showroom in the Pacific Design Center, hopefully during West Week this year. I know it's been a topsy-turvy time. This is really exciting, and I'm so also thrilled that I got to see you and the showroom with your stunning pieces just recently at the holiday small event that you had. It was just fantastic. So thank you for that. I would love to start at the beginning with you. You come from such a creative family of artists and performers, 3 generations of magicians, right?
That's right.
And you yourself became a magician. So let's just talk about how young you were and how that came to be and how it progressed.
I began formally practicing or studying magic. My father was my mentor at about 4 years old. And by the time I was 6 or 7, I was performing, let's call it birthday parties and things like that. But by the time I reached 12 or 13 or 14, I was now on the bigger circuit. And that included working at huge fundraising events for muscular dystrophy. I was working in carnivals. I was actually, as strange as it sounds, my father and I were doing seances together when I was about 16 or 17. Somewhere around that age, I was working in the Catskill Mountains as an entertainer. And that was the beginning of my professional life as a magician, drawing down.
Wow. That's amazing. All that just being a kid. Amazing. But you, not only were you a magician, you're an artist, musician, dancer, craftsman, builder, designer, bespoke furniture designer. And, you know, you do so many things and have done so many things. How do you find that? Let's talk about the magic part. So the question I have for you, how did your performance and magic background influence, or how do you think it influenced your creativity? Did it carry over into the next incarnations of your life, or was it a complete break?
It was continuity. Growing up, not only was my training in magic, but it was the offshoot of it, or central and essential to it, movement itself. And movement was simply how one walks across a room. Movement had to do with dance. Movement had to do with odd things like juggling. Movement had to do with just simply how the body moves and understanding. In fact, the way that I'm using my hands right now, or as a magician works, that would go back 3 generations. My grandfather taught my father. And so his movements were the outcome of what his father taught him. And then the same thing happened with me. There was a direct connection between building magic illusions, but it's about a kind of fork in the road. Something took place. And it was when my future ticket to my life had changed. And I moved into a loft in Lower Manhattan. And lofts were rather inexpensive at the time, or as I've often said, cheap rent. And what that allowed for was to discover who you were and what you were, and what you wanted your life to be about, while you were surrounded not only in a space that made anything possible, but in a community of people who were living much in the same way. As I began to build that loft, I discovered that the talents I had as a musician, as a magician, as a dancer, began to explode, and that I was gifted in making things. And that's
fantastic.
That was the fork in the road. That was the ticket to my life. And it took over. It eclipsed everything else.
That's amazing. So in your bio, I'll quote, "Performance is at the heart of the art furniture movement of the 70s." And that was where you were. And you began, as a magician, a dancer, and a pianist. And your designs are a combination of illusion, motion, and melody. I love that. Would you please expand upon that description? How is your art furniture a combination of illusion and motion and melody?
Well, illusion has many different elements to it. It's what I call the tenets of magic, and it's the illusion of normalcy, the illusion of infinite possibility, the sense of, or the illusion of spontaneity, that's what you see occurring, or it appears to occur at that moment. And we all have this experience that when we discover something that we feel a relationship to and we believe is very, very beautiful, it's as if it explodes before us at that moment. But what's really behind it is the time that it takes, the many months that it can take to actually build something. Because of my background in magic, illusion had that other element, which I said before, is this infinite possibility that anything could occur, that different aspects of these pieces appeared and disappeared, and there were different types of compartments, but these things were known only to the person who possessed them.
So you had furniture with hidden compartments built in. Is that correct?
I was known for building. I was a builder of wonders. I was known for that, and it attracted a very interesting coterie of people.
Right. So yes, and you had quite an impressive list of commissioned works in furniture. So how did that all begin?
Well, you would be surprised how many people have things to hide.
Probably not. I live in Los Angeles.
Hiding in different ways. Things that are very personal to them. And there's a certain pleasure out of this intimate connection between an individual and an object. And that's what was intriguing to me, that when this desk, let's say, or even a bed, has things that others don't know about it, that you do.
Hidden compartments and secret stuff. That's pretty provocative.
Secret stuff. Yeah, and some of the discoveries, as I've discovered over the years, the types of things that people placed in these in this furniture was rather remarkable. Sometimes very, very surprising, but in very, very beautiful ways. People took things that were very personal to them, that had a great deal of meaning, sentimental meaning. Yoko, I discovered 30 some odd years later, wanted John to have a photograph of her in only a place that he knew. And this was a present from Yoko to John on their 34th birthday. And once again, because of this reputation as a magician, I was performing occasionally in art galleries, and as a builder, attracted a lot of people to me, and it set up the very early stages of my career.
That's fantastic. So to be clear, Yoko Ono commissioned you to make a desk with a hidden compartment for her husband, John Lennon, so that only he would know about the secret compartment to see the special photograph of her, right?
Yeah, that's
Was
there were more than one compartments. I got carried away. There were about 7 in the piece. So yeah, exuberance takes over, and it was
that's fantastic.
It was at a very particular moment in your life that probably many people know about.
Right.
Yeah.
So you have said, another quote I'm calling you on, I kill for beauty. Failure is not an option. No inhibition, go for it. And my favorite, because nobody told me not to.
Well,
these are your mottos.
They are my mottos. I don't go back on it. Each one has a place in my life. The notion of because I can and nobody told me not to started off very early. When I was building, I wanted to grow larger than being a lone craftsman. So I began to expand the types of projects and products that I was working on, eventually culminating in a showroom. But in order to go along with that, I needed to build a factory. And that began to spawn this notion of becoming an industrialist. And an industrialist, in my sensibility, you have to remember I was the son of a magician. And it's this notion of some of the pieces I was building at the time were about the portrayal of power, but it was this power to create jobs. It was the ability to come up with ideas that created jobs. It was the inclusion of engineering, of whatever went on the factory floor. But then in addition to that, it had to expand in terms of sales and marketing.
Right.
All of this happened in my mid-20s to very early 30s. And sometimes I hit the wall. And people would say, well, why did you do that? And I said, because I could, and nobody told me not to. And so it's not like, I still say I'm a 50-year overnight success. But
a 50-year overnight success. I love that.
Right. My business. In terms of killing for beauty, it's, well, we each define beauty in our own ways. As a designer, I'm hoping to communicate that beauty to others, and others are going to find these objects so compelling that they want to make them their own. But for me, and for me, not but for me, but and for me, in the studio, it is this overwhelming drive to find the essence of what you want a piece of furniture or whatever the object is. If I'm working on a bottle for perfume, that expresses this so quintessentially, and that it takes over. That's all I can think about.
Right.
The killing, not killing others. The killing is driving yourself deeper and deeper into yourself to put a connection between what you see and how you feel about what you see.
That's beautiful. I love that. So you've coined the phrase, you have so many great phrases, the art of sitting. A chair is like wine tasting. Is that correct?
I did say that, yes.
Tell us about your process and philosophy in chair design. How is it like wine tasting? And why is it an art?
It's interesting every time I think about, for instance, a phrase like that, it grows and it expands. If you observe the way someone tests wine out, it's broken up into certain stages. How we examine and smell the cork, how we swill the wine in the glass, how we give it a small taste, and then finally how we nod and agree, yes, pour some more. Well, a chair has a very similar attitude. But what's behind that? It's how someone approaches it, how they determine to sit, how they position themselves, and then how they finally determine that this is a chair that's for them, how they make it their own. But what's behind that is engineering. It's understanding the body. It's understanding that one chair has to fit all sizes, small, medium, and large. It's understanding this notion of safety, how comfort and safety come so close together. So that engineering takes in so many aspects of the body, its form, the scale of the object, the scale of the chair, what kinds of internal workings are going on in that chair to allow that to happen. So it's this mixture, a very complex mixture that gets distilled down to ultimately sit here.
That's beautiful. A lot of people don't realize they either like it, don't like it, but they don't know why. But if you do or don't, but your chairs are like sculpture. They're so beautiful and they are comfortable. So we know that you put so much time and energy into the engineering and all the thoughtfulness of the body into it. So I want to ask you about this. You developed the library chair originally for the San Francisco Public Library, but it was introduced in 1996, and the library chair is currently housed in over 100 libraries across the world, including, read this off, Harvard University, New York University, Stanford, Cesar Palelli's Minneapolis Public Library, the Santa Monica Public Library, Queen's University in Belfast, Ireland, and it goes on. Tell us about the library chair. We're seeing all your chairs and your work on our slideshow here. It's so brilliant. Tell us the journey of that chair and why you think it's so popular and successful.
Well, you left out the West Hollywood Public Library.
Oh my gosh, I did. How could I do that? The West Hollywood Public Library. Yes. I said Santa Monica, West Hollywood. Yes. And so we're 25th anniversary this year of the library chair.
Yeah. It came about because of going through flea markets and seeing the Bank of England chair. It's also called the courthouse chair. And they're in every flea market you go to. And realizing that the chair was made at this point, perhaps 100 years ago, and that it's still in use and that it's still structurally solid. So it struck this chord for me, and also something else, anonymity, that it's the chair. It's not who made it, but when it was made, how it was used, and that it survived all of these years. So that's what intrigued me, to build something that it's not a Dakota Jackson chair, of course it is, yes, but the fact that it exists for others in public spaces. And it was that desire to create this chair that would last in that way for a lifetime.
Mission accomplished. Bravo. I mean, it's prolific. Amazing. Yay. Bravo, bravo, maestro. Okay, let's talk about some of the other chairs and collections you have. The Ah and the O chair. I love the name. They're also gorgeous and of course engineered artistically by you. Tell us, how would you describe the Ah and the O chairs? What was the philosophy behind those?
Uh, it's just a surprise. We look at a chair, we look at a person. I know that, you know, because my life is dedicated to objects, to me, they have as rich a personality, as rich a presence, as rich in terms of beauty as individuals do. But then there's that experience of sitting down. And when you sit down, there are words that we go. We say, ah, or we say, oh, you know, and
That's wonderful. I didn't
yeah,
think of that. It's so
so
obvious.
yeah.
I personally saw and love the oval chess table at the marquetry. It's so exquisite. The designers and everybody in there, we were just drooling over each piece. Just want you to know that. So if you would describe the chess collection, if you can, you'll do better than I will. It's just so beautiful.
It's about beauty. It's about the form of a chess piece, the centuries that the chess piece took to evolve, the very humble pawn in the game, and the way we lift it up by the neck as we move it. And this sense of movement is what I wanted to instill in the table, that it has a very slender pedestal which comes up and flares to support a large top. The top is about my love of wood and marquetry and finishing. That's 50 years of understanding how materials and process come together.
Beautiful. It's so exquisite. Everything, all of it, the whole collection, so exquisite. I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about the bento collection as well. It's 15 pieces.
It comes from, the bento collection comes from a very simple concept, and it's how we hold and how we keep. And so the illusion is not directly connected to, although I always have fun with it, to in naming pieces,
Yeah.
as exhibited by the A and the O. It's more about the personal objects that one places within a piece.
Mm-hmm.
How we hold them, how we keep them. And each piece that's part of this, the high bento cabinets, the low bento cabinets, have another way of holding how we reveal, how we conceal, and this opening, those areas which are private, those areas which are public, once again, all fold into this collection and all are interwoven into this expression of holding and keeping.
I can see all of that. That's beautiful. Well said, well described. Thank you for sharing that. And next, I mean, there's just so many things. You are so busy. So you have a 20-year association with Steinway and Sons, you know, the world's leading piano manufacturer. And that's culminated in the recent international premiere of the Lang Lang Black Diamond Concert Piano. And now you're launching in 2023, the Dakota Jackson Piano Company. Please tell us about what that is and what we'll see.
I've created an entity which takes in the best of those craftspeople worldwide, which does include Steinway, in terms of certain aspects of the piano that they do best. Every aspect of this is the notion, again, of like killing for beauty, killing for sound, killing for performance. Ultimately, it comes down to the intimacy of the musician at the keyboard and how that produces sound. So I've invited different craftspeople who deal with sound, who deal with the regulation of the piano, the action of the piano, myself dealing with the way this piano looks and how we have this sense of dynamic performance that it creates. And this will be sold under the Dakota Jackson brand. They will be limited edition pianos, somewhere between 10 to 15 pianos, and different designs will come out yearly.
That's so incredible and exciting. Is one of them behind you right now?
Well, the piano is 2000. It came from made in 2000. It's from the tricentennial anniversary piano commemorating the 300th anniversary of the piano. It was an edition of 300 pianos, and which I insisted on. Steinway fell in love with the piano. It was the first time that we had gotten together to talk about it. They were interested in one piano. I said, no, I'll only build it, I'll only design it and engineer it if there's going to be 300. And for some amazing reason, they decided that they would go along with that. And inside a year and a half, 300 of the tricentennial sold. And so
that's extraordinary. Now I see other instruments in there. Do you play all of those? What are we looking at?
The sousaphone is, to me, sculpture, musical instruments or sculpture. I live in a house. My wife is very firmly and centered in the art world. So it is a house that is full of art. My love are instruments and the forms of instruments, and almost, I don't want to call a guitar a chair, but the sense of how it relates to the body, how we hold it, how we embrace it, and then how we create sound. Over here is a sitar, an interesting, an Indian instrument. And I studied with Ravi Shankar in 1966, the preeminent musician in Indian music. Obviously, there's the piano, the sousaphone I love to whisper into as it booms. There are guitars over here, there's saxophones, there's Chinese violins. There's
amazing. And you play all of them?
To different degrees.
To different. Do you play them all in that room?
I play them largely in this room. The piano and the guitar are my two chief instruments.
Yeah, the piano has to stay. That's extraordinary. Well, it makes for a fabulous conversation piece and backdrop for our purposes. It's hilarious. That's really impressive. Very, very impressive. And they are like sculpture, just beautiful. Well, you certainly have a lot of things to celebrate, but I have one more question. I ask everybody this. What is your definition of luxury?
I have to be polite. Luxury is, it's such a broad concept. It's such a broad word. And sometimes it's used fairly, and sometimes it's used in ways that just simply have to do with marketing. I kill for beauty and I strive for elegance.
Kill for beauty, strive for elegance. Love that. So this is a big, big time. You are celebrating the 50 years of success. And I believe you're doing a retrospective, new collection, so much going on. Tell us about the celebration that's going to happen at the Pacific Design Center where your showroom is. You're having a special event there come this spring, right?
Yes, it's a surprise event. I can only tell you that it'll be magical.
Of course. You can't tell us anything. I know it's going to be a spectacle, probably a show of some sort.
Well, we don't know.
Something theatrical.
Magic has it. You won't know at first. You won't understand what's going on. And then it'll begin to evolve, and you suddenly will realize that you're in this 360-degree experience.
Ooh, okay. If that doesn't tease it, I don't know what will. I'll be there. Just count me in. And we'll all come. We'll come to the Pacific Design Center this spring during West Week and catch your celebration at the Dakota Jackson showroom. It's going to be magical, theatrical, and stunning for sure. Thank you so much for your time and taking us through your creative journey. It's been a pleasure. It's so good to see you.
Oh, it's been my pleasure too. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for joining us. This is Wild on Design, presented by the Pacific Design Center. We will see you soon. Bye.